Martyn Waghorn had returned to Moor Farm to help John Eustace and the Derby County squad secure their championship status for the 2025-26 season. But is it something that he's going to be able to do? Now, obviously, some of you might know, some of you might not know, the 35-year-old retired from professional football back in February after a spell at, I believe, Northampton Town. But he is now back training at Moor Farm with Derby County, and John Eustace thinks that he can use his experience to help galvanise this squad. At the moment, Derby County do have no plans to register Martyn Waghorn for the final 8 games, but obviously given our injury situation, there's always a possibility that he could get an option on the bench. Now for me, I completely understand why this deal has been done, and I completely understand why Martyn Waghorn has returned to Derby County. Martyn Waghorn has stayed within the area. Even when he's moved clubs, he's still stayed within the area. His son used to play at the academy. I'm unsure if he still does, but he used to a couple of years ago, back when I was at Derby County. And for me, Waghorn is one of those people who is a standard setter. A player who sort of not necessarily is going to be the best player on the pitch, but he's going to work harder than everybody else. He's going to show you exactly what should be done. He's going to give the manager exactly what the manager needs. And that's something which I think you can't take away from Martyn Waghorn. Even at 35 years old, he's still going to be that same person with the same drive and the same determination. Now, if we go back to, 2020? Maybe 2021? He was a part of that squad, which on the final day versus Sheffield Wednesday, came from behind to secure their championship status. And he's essentially, in that game, knocked himself out up against the post and then continued to play and was the reason we stayed up in the end. And I love Martyn Waghorn. I think he's an incredible person, and I think that going forward, having someone like Martyn Waghorn within the building at Moor Farm is absolutely unbelievable. Like, the experience he brings at championship level, the experience he brings in these sorts of situations, in relegation battles, at Derby County as well. If you go back a few years, he was a major reason why Derby County stayed in the division. If you go back to last season, when he was at Derby as well in the League One, he scored some really, really important goals for Derby in that season, including a hat-trick against Peterborough. Now, he played 7 times or 8 times earlier this season for Northampton, scoring once, getting 1 assist, but didn't really play that many minutes, only 2 full 90s, 37 minutes, and then plus 4. So you've got, 200 odd minutes maybe, which obviously it's not as if he's going to play games for Derby. And I go back to Eric Peters on this one as well, because I don't think Eric Peters is going to play games for Derby either. But it's one of those where you add in that experience. Like, if we look at Martyn Waghorn, he's made 150 appearances for Derby County, 37 goals, 13 assists. Championship level, he's played 373 games. Now, you can't take that away from anybody. 373 games, 78 goals, 47 assists, 150 of those games being for Derby across the course of the Championship and League One. And for me, if Waghorn had stayed fit last season, he scores 20 goals. But obviously, the inability to stay fit is what's obviously then caused for him to go to Northampton, and then obviously caused for him to retire. Now, obviously, Waghorn knows a few of the players in the building. I believe he will know Jeff Hendrick. He obviously knows Fozzie. He'll know Ebu. He'll know pretty much all the lads that were here last year. And I think that's a major positive for someone of Martyn Waghorn's calibre to come in. He'll instantly come in and sort of, people know what he's about, and it'll set a standard straight away. And that's what I like about Martyn Waghorn, is he has always been a standard setter. Wherever he's been, whatever club he's been at, injured or fit, he's always been a standard setter, and you cannot take that away from him. And that's something that will always be a part of him as a person until the day he dies, in my opinion. Like, you don't lose that drive and determination when it's been a part of your life for so long, which it has been for Martyn Waghorn since he made his first senior appearance to where he is now at 35 years old. And I really like the idea that's going on with John Eustace. He's brought in Kmar Roof experience, Jeff Hendrick experience, Eric Peters experience, Martyn Waghorn experience to get us over the line. When you look at some of the other clubs around us, they've not brought in those levels of experience, and some of them have actually let experience go. You look at, I think it was Plymouth, let Adam Forshaw move on, when, in my opinion, that was the wrong decision, because you need those experienced heads. Now, I'm not 100% sure on the dealings around Forshaw moving away and things like that, but it's sort of one of those things. Now, for me, Waghorn, people will probably call it the cheerleader role, which I don't necessarily disagree. But I think Waghorn is going to be that manager within the players. We don't have leaders in the group. We know that. We've known that across the course of this season. And when I'm talking about leaders, I'm talking about someone who's going to like get in your face and galvanise you. We've not had that this season. And the problem that we've got now is Ebro Adams is captain, but leads by example rather than with his voice, essentially. So having someone like Martyn Waghorn, who isn't going to be afraid to sort of say what he's thinking, he's got no loyalties to a lot of these players. He's got, apart from really Craig Forsyth, like his loyalties lie with Derby County, and the main aim for Derby County is staying in the division, and he will know that. And his season, I think it was the 21-22 season, maybe. What season was it before he went to Coventry? 2020, 2021. It was probably his worst season, right? 5 goals, 5 assists in 32 appearances, 1,891 minutes, right? And if I remember rightly, it was a hat-trick on the final day, or a double on the final day, after not scoring for over a year, which secured him, which secured Derby County in the Championship, which obviously then led to him being released and things like that because of not injury troubles, EFL problems that Derby County were having. Now, when someone knows what needs to be done and someone has shown that they're willing to put their body on the line, their life on the line really, to make sure that happens, it's an unbelievable feeling to see it in person. Now, obviously, no one saw, apart from the players and staff, what Martyn Waghorn did on that day in person because of, obviously, the circumstances around COVID and things like that. But to get knocked out by the post, to come back and play the game, score as well, and be a massive part of the reason Derby County stay up, like, that's something which people are going to look up to. Now, I personally believe that over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, I think Waghorn's going to end up as an academy coach with the club and then work his way through and probably end up with the first team, a little bit like Jake Buxton, Bradley Johnson, things like that. And I think it'll be really good to have him in the club, like, long term, because he's done so much for this club. And you look at some of those academy players that will have watched Waghorn that season, will have watched Waghorn time and time again. Obviously, some of them might not necessarily remember the 2018-19 season, I think it was, under Frank Lampard. But what an unbelievable year he had that year as well. It was a massive part of the success we had. And for me, I think having that experience and the wealth of experience that Waghorn brings, I think it's going to be massive for the future of Derby County this season. Obviously, there's only 8 games remaining. What's that? 24, 27 points? 27, 24? 24 points remaining. He's not going to be the reason why we get points, but he'll certainly be the reason why morale stays high. Now, we're going to lose games in this last 8, and the important thing is that we keep a positive mindset. We go into Preston North End at home knowing that a 2-goal victory takes us out of the relegation places. In fact, I'm fairly sure it's just a victory takes us out of the relegation places. I will just confirm that. Let's go to the league table. Derby County on 38. Yeah, just a victory takes us out of the relegation places and puts pressure on Cardiff City, who face up against QPR next, who are in a bit of free fall themselves. Obviously, Derby County. I think we have Swansea next Saturday. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. But if you have not done so already, Derby County are fighting for survival, and you're going to want to see every minute of it. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, hit the like button, and I'll catch you in my next video.